Maajid Nawaz is founder of the Quilliam Foundation, the world's first counter-extremism think tank, and also helped to draft some parts of the speech out by David Cameron later on today. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
How can murderers and terrorists be defeated by British values, Maajid? What does that even mean?
So I think what the issue here is not just about ISIS, and it's not just about defeating murderers and terrorists. I think what the Prime Minister here is talking about is that we have to recognise that up to 1,000 British-born and raised citizens don't just get up and join the worst terrorist group that we have ever known, at least in our lifetimes, from a vacuum. There is a milieu or an atmosphere from which they emerge, and it's about looking at that atmosphere. It's impossible to comprehend a family of 12, from a grandfather down to a 1-year-old child, getting up and leading an organisation that systematically rapes women unless there's a climate around them that somehow makes them feel heroic for doing so. And it's that climate that we have to look at. Not everyone who justifies the principle of resurrecting a caliphate supports ISIS. Indeed, Al-Qaeda don't support ISIS. But not supporting ISIS, challenging ISIS, doesn't necessarily put us in good company. And I think that's the spirit of this speech, because we're still standing on the same dividing lines, on the same side as groups such as Al-Qaeda, Hizb ut-Tahrir and the Muslim Brotherhood and other Islamist groups who also condemn ISIS. So we have to look at, in their condemnation, they're still justifying the idea of resurrecting a theocratic caliphate in the modern age. So we have to look at those ideas, and I think what the Prime Minister is trying to say with the term British values, personally I use the term liberal values with a small l, is that there are certain human rights values and belief in democratic principles and freedom of expression and freedom of belief that bind us in this country and in other countries. And they are the best antidote, rather than the blunt tools of law and war, to try and, in the long term, get through some of this mess.
For some commentators, though, for some against what Mr Cameron is trying to do, it's all in danger of damaging freedom of expression. Baroness Vasi, for one, says Muslims are tired of constantly being called upon to apologise for the actions of extremists. The government lacks force.
Yes, so this idea that Muslims are being called upon to apologise for extremists is absurd. And I think that, with due respect to Baroness Vasi, and, I know her, I think that if to give the analogy of racism, white working classes communities from which, for example, far-right racism potentially can emerge, aren't expected to apologise for racists. What everyone else is delighted to receive from them, though, on the other hand, is solidarity against racism. Now, to challenge racism, everyone's responsible, whether it's teachers, whether it's people in universities, student union societies, media. Everyone has a role in challenging racism. That's not apologia, that's solidarity. Likewise, if you look at a sort of an ideology that in this day and age, frankly, it's gone too far, it's justifying all sorts of abhorrent things, we're expecting not just Muslims, but all of society to show solidarity with human rights values and civil liberties against this ideology.
Maajid Nawaz, good to have you with us this morning. Appreciate your time. Thank you. Founder there of the Quilliam Foundation.